What is good, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this one, I wanted to break down what's happening with SPY, Tsla, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. We'll break down what's happening with the economic calendar moving forward, what's going on with the news involving the markets, what you should be watching for as time progresses based off the levels we have. But before I begin the devil's information, before I get into any more details, let me just mention a couple of things. I am firstly not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Moomoo and deposit $100, you are guaranteed 7 free stocks, and the offer ends in just 7 days from now, so check it out before they run out. Anyways, for SPY, we're actually dipping a little bit during the pre-market session, approaching our 50 EMA. We'll be watching to see if SPY gets a bounce or not, as we have some Fed speakers speaking. If we lose some key support, then yes, SPY could see a dip. If we end up holding some key levels, then we could see a bounce, and this could be forming a cup and handle. So I'll break down more details about this in the next couple of minutes. But first, let's talk about the news. Today is Tuesday, May 21st, 2024, at 9 o'clock a.m., 9:05 and 9:10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We have Barkin, Waller, Williams, and Bostic all giving speeches. Now, we also have Barr giving a speech later on, and a few more Fed speakers. Whatever they say could affect the market to some extent, so watch for some volatility starting from right now. And we'll see how things end up going because some of them are about to start the speeches right now. So get ready for that. That could actually affect the market to some extent. When it comes to news about the market, the Nasdaq did continue to push to all-time highs. Dow is also holding up decently. We're going to be watching to see how the market holds up this day, as we have some big stuff coming out for tomorrow. For more news about the markets, JP Morgan Chase Jamie Dimon has signaled on Monday that he might be retiring sooner than expected. He is 68, and his contributions to the company and the world of finance have been incredible. So we'll see how things go. Just wish the best for him nonetheless. Lowe's just had its earnings. I'll talk about that in just a minute. And then Red Lobster actually filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. It's actually continuing to shrink and is trying to find a new buyer. So that's some big news that's come out. With that being said, let's talk about some more news over here. For earnings, we just had Macy's, Lowe's, and AutoZone announce their earnings. And then don't forget that for tomorrow, we actually have Nvda announcing their earnings as well. But for today, let's talk about what just happened. Macy's beat earnings estimates, and it has a turnaround plan. But overall, they are still expecting a decrease in their sales, at least for the fiscal year. So revenue was at about $4.85 billion, which isn't bad whatsoever. And EPS was about 27 cents adjusted. That's actually better than expected. So both EPS and revenue were close to, if not better than expected. But when it comes to what they're projecting for the future, they are talking about more potential store closures, sales not being as strong as what we saw last year, and their guidance is still so close to expectations, but not that great, I would say. And so far, that's the part of the reason why it's still holding up decently in terms of its share price. But with all this news coming out and so earnings that isn't as strong as it could have been, Lowe's did relatively well, though, even better than Macy's, in my opinion, despite the fact that sales fell year over year. They did top a lot of estimates. Moving forward, they are expecting, once again, some nice increases for the full year forecast, especially for the overall sales. There's a slight little decrease, but it's still close to expectations. And their EPS and revenue were both beats, which isn't bad whatsoever. We actually saw a nice beat in earnings, and I would say that their guidance is just so pretty good, I would say. So that's part of the reason why Lowe's is doing relatively well. And we actually saw a nice little increase in the share price. So that's part of why it's actually performing relatively well. Not bad earnings whatsoever. Anyways, let's talk about the market now. What's happening with SPY and the others real quick. What do I see moving forward? Well, honestly, guys, SPY is dipping just a little bit right now. And we have a bunch of Fed speakers, so we'll see how they end up affecting us. There are two possibilities. We're actually testing our key EMA right over here, so I'll be watching this as a critical support. Right now, our 50 EMA is in the low 529s. If we lose this EMA right here, so watch this 50 EMA, the 529 area. If we end up losing it, if we get like a negative reaction from the Fed, watch 528. If we end up testing this or even losing this, there is going to be a risk of this potentially falling. This is going to be our critical support because the last time we had 528, we saw a big bounce. So if we lose 528, we're going to be looking for a dip all the way down to at least 526.6 if we turn more bearish. But if we're bullish and we end up holding support, so if we actually come down like this, and we start shuffling, we actually get bought back up, then there could be a bounce coming back up, and we could be retesting all-time highs if we get back above 530, just like this. So that would form the cup and handle-like structure if we get a bounce close to where we are currently. So I'll be watching that very carefully. So it's very simple. If we get a bounce and we hold above the 529s and push above 530, look for a push, and we could get very close to all-time highs again. If we reject right here in a double top like structure and we end up losing 529, look at 528 as our next critical support zone, because the last time we hit this 529 528 area. We actually saw, SPY bounce. If we lose this, then we're going to be looking for a bigger dip, and we will turn more bearish, technically speaking. So are we about to get a pullback, or is the market about to form a cup and handle? We will wait and see depending on what the Fed says. So make sure you're open-minded and prepared for anything. As far as Tesla goes, Tesla is also trying to rebound a bit, but we're testing this trend line. We did break below this because of bad news that came out as there was a fire at the Giga Fremont. So watch how Tesla reacts here. If you get a big rejection off our 200 EMA, this 175 area, look for a move back down to 172. If we break above our EMAs, like 176 or so, and we get back above the white trend line that you see, then yes, Tesla could try to hold up and start pushing back up towards 176 to 178. Do we break above the trend line and push to 178, or do we get a rejection during this test? The test is happening right now. Watch this during open. If we get the rejection, look for 172. We do have a head and shoulders like structure on Tesla, so the odds do favor kind of like popping and dropping down to 172. But just to be safe, we'll wait and see just for confirmation. For Nvidia, we are dipping just a little bit, exactly what we were thinking. We have this gap to fill down here, and we have this trend line. We could be testing 925 or so, maybe a little bit lower before we try to bounce again. So look for a little dip and then a bounce, and I'll be watching that very, very carefully. For the QQQ, we're also dipping a bit. Watch support at 452, our 1 hour 50 EMA. If we lose that, then we could be dipping down towards 450. We have resistance at 454.5 and 455.5. I think we might dip a little bit towards the 452 area and maybe a little bit lower. And then we'll see if we get a bounce or not. If we get a bounce off 452, then we're going to be fine. If we lose 452, we're going to be dipping even lower. So I'll be watching to see how things end up moving from here. But if anything, that's what I'm seeing, at least on the chart, at least for the QQQ. So watch for a little dip and watch if we get a bounce or not. That's going to be key for how we end up moving. And then for Apple stock, we're trading sideways within this range, but we are favoring bulls right now. If we break past 192, watch 192.5, then 193.5. And if we break below 190, look for a dip towards 189 flat for support. But I favor upside towards 192, so that looks a bit more probable in my personal opinion. For Coinbase, we're approaching resistance right here. I called 232 yesterday. That's where we ended up going to. Now we're kind of rejecting a bit. Tough resistance is right over here. If we reject and continue to fall, we could be dipping back down towards 223.5 or so, depending on where depending on where the 20 EMA happens to be, maybe a little bit higher, closer to 225, because it's kind of trending upwards. And if we bounce off this, then we're going to be completely fine. But I do see a little dip coming to Coinbase. For Amazon, we're looking a bit more bearish to me. We're at 182.6. We could be dipping towards 180 flat. There's potential for it to actually dip a bit more. So just be careful. Same thing with Meta. It might also kind of dip a bit as we lost 469. So look for 465 and 463. I'll be watching those very, very carefully. For GME, we are kind of dipping a bit. We could be approaching once again 20, then 17 below that. And we have resistance at 24. There could be a little dip coming. We have a nice inverse head and shoulders, but look for a little dip and see if we get a bounce. There is potential for it to bounce after we get that little dip. Same thing with AMC. We're down 3% during the pre-markets. We could be dipping down towards 4.25 all over again to 4.5. So look for a little dip and a bounce as well. With that being said, guys, there's a big test coming amidst all these Fed speakers. Will SPY get a bounce from here, or are we about to form a double top? All right, so watch for that carefully. Is this a cup and handle? Will we get the bounce here and start pushing back up to 530 plus an all-time highs, or is this a double top and are we about to get a big rejection? If we get the rejection, watch us lose 528 to turn bearish. If not, if we end up holding support, then we'll see what the bounce happens to be. All right. The reason why I'm kind of double-minded is because we have a bunch of Fed speakers, so we'll see what they cause. So you always want to be open-minded on days like this. Anyways, that's it for the video. Thank you all so much for listening. Have an absolutely incredible rest of the day, and I'll see you guys very soon in the next one. Thank you, and peace out.